Hey guys, how's it going? This is a video I've been planning on making for quite a few weeks now. I pre-ordered the PlayStation Classic when pre-orders were available back in November last year, but I promptly cancelled my pre-order when I started to see the reviews and the feedback that this device just wasn't worth the money that Sony were asking for it. But then right around Christmas, less than a month after the thing had been released, retailers were slashing the prices on this thing. It just wasn't selling. It was cut down in price by 45%, almost half price from what it was released just 3 weeks before. So the price came down here in the UK from $89.99 to $49.99, and that made me think, is it worth giving this thing a chance? Is the PlayStation Classic worth £50? Okay guys, so the PlayStation Classic, I finally got my hands on one. I refused point blank to pay the original price for it, even though this was my favourite classic console back in the day. I refused to pay full price for it, mainly because it's got 20 games on it, which in itself isn't bad, but they could have put a lot more games on this console. Considering the original console was released in 1994, some 25 years ago, and has a catalogue of over 2,000 games available. 20 games was always going to be a difficult choice for Sony to put on here, especially since they're meant to be showcasing the best that this console could achieve, and the games that are on it, in my opinion, aren't that strong. We're missing some real classics on here. We're missing the likes of Tomb Raider, Crash Bandicoot, Resident Evil 2. There are a lot of games on the PlayStation platform that aren't on this machine and could have been, would have made it a lot more viable in many people's eyes. Now, I really do like the retro console idea. I've got the Commodore 64 Mini last year, and even though there are some games on there that I wouldn't have personally put in there, and there were a lot of games that were omitted for licensing reasons, now I'm hoping the PlayStation Classic does the same. Even though there are a lot of games on there that I'm not that worried about. When this thing was first launched, Sony said that it couldn't be hacked, you couldn't put additional games on that, but we have found out now that it is possible to put other games on here, and if you search YouTube, there are a lot of videos on there showing you how to hack it and how to put your own games on there. So that's one thing that for a lot of people, if they're willing to put a little bit of time and effort in, might make this a lot more worthwhile. I'm just going to look at it in the state that it comes. So without further ado, let's get this thing open and see what you get in the box. So, the trusty old Swiss Army knife. Let's cut this thing open here and have a look. First thing I will notice is the packaging. I do particularly like it. It is very Sony. It is a true representation of what the original packaging did look like, and on the back it does list the 20 games that you get on the machine. So the outer box is pretty cool, and as I say, it does give you a list of the games that are available. There's a second inner box with the PlayStation logo on it, and let's have a look. So inside this second box we have got the PlayStation Classic. Look how tiny that little thing is. Anything else in here? Yep, we have got the instruction manual, which actually does look pretty authentic to the original PlayStation. Okay, so the PlayStation Classic console is here inside this little box, and it's pretty lightweight actually. It is pretty lightweight. Now, let's have a look at that. That is pretty cool. It is tiny. It has all of the styling of the original PlayStation. And plus we've got the control ports here, which are USB, power button, reset button, and the open button. Of course, this doesn't take a CD, so that doesn't work. But that button is used for certain games. When you're changing disc, you'll hit that and it simulates you swapping the disc. So it's kind of a nice little homage to the original PlayStation. On the back here we have got HDMI for connection to the TV, and micro USB for the power socket. Weight wise, it's not too bad weight wise. I would have thought it would be a little bit heavier, but that is not a bad weight at all. That's not a bad weight at all. And this is 45% of the size of the original PlayStation, so a true mini console, and that'll sit nicely next to my Commodore 64 Mini on the shelf. And at some point I'll probably get the NES and the SNES to go with it and get the whole collection. But that looks, there's some detail been put into this, there's been some work and effort, and that looks pretty cool. I'm kind of pretty happy with that. So what else is in the box here? Just put you over here, shall we? Let's have a look what's in the box. So, what happens here? Aha! 2 little tabs. They open like that. And that part comes out. And in the box we have all of the other goodies that you need. We have got USB to USB-C cable, controller number 1, controller number 2, you're going to sit there nicely, and we have an HDMI cable. The only thing you do not get with this setup, is the power brick, and this seems to be quite a common thing just lately, in that you get the USB-C cable and the manufacturers just assume that, hey, everybody's got a USB adapter, so they just don't bother including one. And for the actual cost to them of including one, I really think they should probably put one in, but they chose not to, so there's no point moaning, because it's not going to do us any good. So the PlayStation controllers, just like the original PlayStation controllers, and these are based on the original controller, so of course they are not DualShock, they don't have the little joysticks that don't vibrate, which I feel on some of the games might be a little bit of a hindrance, but in all other ways very authentic. They even look like the original PlayStation controllers here, but with the USB adapter on the bottom. So weight wise they feel pretty authentic, got a nice feel. I think they are pretty good. So, first impressions, it looks good. Sony have put a lot of attention to detail in this and preparing the actual console and the controllers. Let's see if they've put as much effort into the way the operating system works, the way the games are represented, and is it going to be worth spending out the money to get one of these things. So let's turn this thing on. The first thing we see when it eventually loads up is language selection, and there's plenty of different languages to pick from. We'll stick with the United Kingdom English, and then some information on what button does what, followed by epilepsy warning. So let's check out the settings. Now the PlayStation Classic does output at 720p HD, but there's no way of simulating CRT, which is probably one of the reasons why some of the games don't look great. So the games here are on some sort of very similar to the Commodore 64 Mini, so let's have a look. I think we'll start off with something that I know is probably going to be pretty good. Let's go with Rayman, and then we get the beautiful PlayStation load logo. So skip ahead, we don't want to see all that. And yep, kind of right in that this actually looks pretty good. The 2D games look a hell of a lot better on the PlayStation Classic than on some of the 3D games, and on some of the games the text is barely legible, to be fair. Okay, let's have a look at Resident Evil. Again, hasn't fared particularly well. looking at it.
Well, I'm sorry, buddy.
Yeah, I found this a little bit tough to play.
No.
Probably because I'm so much used to newer games which are a little bit more intuitive.
What is that?
But Resident Evil hasn't fared the best. Now looking at this one, Ridge Racer, the writing, the actual text on this one is absolutely awful and very difficult to read. And also it's pretty difficult to control the cars on the game. You don't have an awful lot of control. So what are my thoughts on the PlayStation Classic? Well, I think for the original asking price of $89.99, I think Sony made a massive misfire here, and I'm pretty glad that I didn't spend full price on buying the thing, especially since the price was cut so quickly. I think anybody that paid the original asking price is going to feel robbed, and also due to the fact that the number of games that are on it, there's 20 games on it, which in itself isn't bad, but Sony could have so easily put 25, 30, maybe even 50 games on the damn thing, and it would have been a lot better value for money, and it would have given a lot more scope of what the PlayStation could actually do. Some of the games haven't aged well at all, and that is particularly noticeable, especially when viewing it on a big screen. Some of the text is barely legible and it doesn't upscale well at all, and some of the graphics are quite difficult as well. Also, due to the fact that certain versions of the games don't play as well as they should and there's a little bit of lag, some of the games are very difficult to play, and again, that is pretty poor choice on Sony's part. They could have put a lot more effort into what was included on the console. It was a massive opportunity. I think everybody has a fond place in their heart for Sony PlayStation. I personally have loved Sony forever, right back to when I was a kid, and I just think it was a massive missed opportunity. Having said that, the price came down to £50, and a lot of retailers are still selling it for $49.99, even though the Sony PlayStation website is still advertising it at $89.99. Now, for 50 quid, I think that it's not a bad buy, but I don't think I'm going to be playing on this anywhere nearly as much as I thought I would. Some of the games, as I mentioned just a few seconds ago, haven't aged well at all, and while there's a few really good games on there that I might revisit, I think the bulk of the games that are on this thing I probably won't touch. That in itself is a bit of a problem, unless you're just buying this for novelty value to sit on your shelf with all of your other retro consoles. But the PlayStation Classic does leave me with mixed emotions. It looks great. It is a massive missed opportunity for Sony. Sony could have really just knocked the ball out of the park with this one, but they didn't. And I think unless you are absolutely into PlayStation, or unless you really want to complete a collection of retro consoles, I still think £50 is a bit of a push. So make of that what you will. I'm a little bit disappointed, but hey, let's hope Sony do a better job when they release the PlayStation 2 Classic. We can only hope. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Let me know down below whether you've got one of these PlayStation Classics. Did you pay full price or did you get it in the sale? What do you think of it? And are you disappointed or happy with your console? Give a thumbs up if you like this video. Please subscribe if you've not done so already, and I'll see you really soon for another video. Thanks for watching. Bye.